Okay, we should be all set.
Is this me calling a meeting to order? And Chris is going to establish a quorum here?
Yes, we've got 30 participants currently, which meets our 20-person requirement for a quorum. So a quorum has been established.
Fantastic. Thank you. Allison already did the Zoom functionality. Roll call. And I thought I had a list here of past presidents, and I don't, but I recognize a few on here. And from my order here, I'm looking at Nick Triple. Nick, can you stand up and turn around the whole audience and everybody? Dr. Chuck Sikra. Chris Bradshaw. I see a name but not a picture. Chris, stand up. No, don't stand up. Eric Nagin. What's in here? Kerry Flaherty, Walia, Travis Tootin. And am I missing any other past presidents that are present? Committee chairs from our list that's going to be in the meeting coming up here. And we'll have to approve this agenda. Membership is going to be Chris Anderson. He's also going to do treasurer, and he's secretary. And that's going to membership is going to be through Larry Connor from a email. Well, it's here. AFS membership committee will be Kerry Flaherty, Walia. Going down the list here, newsletter, Chris Anderson again, and if Scott Bisbing isn't here and I don't see his name, doesn't mean he's not here. Website, Eric Sutton. Our silent auction is going to be Amanda Crota and Chelsea Crandall, I see you here. Rotman Scholarship, Dr. Chuck Sikra again. And he will also be covering Florida Chapter Awards, even though Eric Najid is here. Student Subunit, Allison Derlin Donahue, see you here. And what else do we have? Ad hoc committees. That's Eric again with Kerry Flaherty. And I think that's it. Did I miss any committees that you know of?
Nope.
I think that's it. All right, Nick, you're going to cover this agenda?
Oh, I thought Chris changed that. It was just motion to approve the agenda.
Well, hold on. I think we have one addition to that. In light of current events, we have an announcement from National, and that will be at the end under new business.
Well, I make a motion to approve that agenda.
I second that motion.
All approved, wave your microphone, or you just wave your hand. I'm not sure how we do this. This is new territory.
Approve.
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 Okay, then we're done with that. moving on to an update, except for the people for this update. Aha, I see Kerry there. I don't see Wes Porak. He may be out there somewhere.
He's on.
Kerry, can you talk to us about a national membership committee?
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
You're good.
Okay. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that I'm now serving as the co-chair for the National AFS Membership Committee, and they have some initiatives that they're going to be starting over the next year or so. So I just wanted to keep you guys up to date. The most exciting one is that they're actually going to revamp the entire AFS job board, which if anybody has been on that job board, it's really hard to navigate and filter jobs, and they're basically going to bring in a contractor to make it more user friendly. So keep an eye out for that in the fall. And then also they've revamped their organizational membership. So that's basically like, for example, if FWC as a whole wanted to go in and get membership for the agency, which we do have, you know, there's different levels for that. And then because the national meeting is going virtual, which I'm sure all of you guys have seen on your emails, there's going to be another campaign coming up that's still kind of, the organization of it is in the works, but it's going to be kind of an incentive campaign for members to get other members. So if you recruit a member to this is to the National Society, there's going to be some prizes and incentives for that, and they haven't decided what exactly that is. So because there's not a national meeting this year, they're a little worried about, you know, people re-upping their membership, and also because there's no meeting, you know, some of that revenue is not going to be coming through. So if you guys are renewing your membership, think about doing it at the national level in addition to the chapter level. And you know, when you renew your national membership, you can just click the Florida chapter and add that on there. So that's really all I have to say on the membership committee for national. And if anybody has any suggestions that you want some of the, you know, higher up folks in AFS staff, as far as, you know, membership benefits and things like that, just send me an email or whatever. Good to talk to you guys.
Thank you. And somebody other than me have a picture of the Southern Division award that we got outstanding? I know Chuck, you sent that out, but I'm not good at this share screen. Does somebody have a picture of that? I know there's somebody more talented and tech savvy than I am.
I do not have it. Otherwise, I'd share it.
I thought you emailed it to us. Or that was a picture of your fishing derby.
Yeah.
Chris, can you come through with that?
So I looked on my phone earlier today, and I actually didn't save the picture, and my text retention deleted that message months ago. So I unfortunately do not either.
Well, we can save that for maybe our next meeting to show that off. And I don't know where all these awards go, but I guess there's a place somewhere in somebody's office somewhere, or maybe at our meeting facility, we just bring awards and hang them up. But it was a cool award, and I think Chris did most of the work in putting together the description for that competition. Nick came up with the whole thing that said, hey, they're asking for this, and we were kind of doubtful, and it was last minute, but came through, and hey, we got it. That's pretty cool. Hats off to all you guys. And I think that's it for National and Southern Division.
No, Wes is on right now to give some more Southern Division updates.
fantastic. I didn't see him. Wes, talk to us.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can.
You can?
Yep.
Okay, I must have been muted. So anyway, Chris asked me to give just a summary of why the chapter might have won the award. And, you know, I think it starts with leadership, and we had the phenomenal leadership of Bob Hagee to run this thing this last year. But anyway, you know, it starts with the diversity of the chapter, where we have so many interesting disciplines that we work all the way from small freshwater conservation species to pelagic species. We have a tremendous conference every year with symposium, but we did a lot of extra stuff like the environmental cleanup the last few years. We always give a lot of awards, but to me, one thing that probably nailed it is what we do for students and youth. I mean, every year we give travel stipends. Every year we give, you know, the awards for scholarships. And this last year, in the nomination, it said that we gave $8,000 for youth conservation and fishing programs. So the chapter's doing a lot, and I've been proud to be part of this chapter for many years. So just a couple of quick updates about the Southern Division. The meeting was planned early enough in February, the division meeting in Little Rock, Arkansas, that they got to squeeze it in before the travel stopped. And along with the meeting this year that was really successful was a third International Catfish Symposium. They've been hosting these every 10 years, and it's really an important science exchange for people working with catfish around the country. I think a lot of you folks know that the Southern Division helped organize a virtual conference, and I imagine a number of you folks participated, where chapters that didn't get to have their meeting could get involved with that. But the attendance was pretty high, and they made over $15,000. It was aimed for the sponsoring the Hutton Scholars Program to mentor high school students. So anyway, next year's Southern Division will be in Virginia. And next year, the Southern Division is also working with the Northeastern Division to host the national meeting in Baltimore, Maryland. So the division will be pretty active again next year with conferences. Hopefully, some of the travel restrictions will be lifted before then. So thank you much.
Thank you, Wes, and good to see you.
So Bob, I found a picture in my email of the award if anyone actually wants to see it real quickly. So this
Fantastic. Look at that.
So I think this is our first time winning this award. I don't know how many times we put in the past, but as just echoing what Wes said, we have a great chapter, and we wouldn't have won this without everyone that's included in our chapter. So this goes out to everyone.
Very cool.
And I
Thanks for
think
sharing that.
one thing that I would like to add to that would just be the just our student subunit and how involved they really are in kind of everything with our annual meeting and also on their own. You know, they run and operate their own blog. They do the vast majority of the work for setting up the Sheep's Head Shuffle. Just I think having them be so involved in everything is definitely another part of what makes Florida chapter so outstanding. So just want to make sure we recognize them and their efforts as well.
Very, very strong. Anybody else on AFS or Southern Division?
I can give, I'm sorry I logged in late. This is Kathy Ginden. I was gonna give you guys an update on the did anybody talk about AFS Hutton program earlier?
No, and I'm not sure if that's down here later.
Oh, sorry.
We might have forgotten that.
Well, I was just coming in up at the AFS kind of, I saw the AFS update. So I have a new role with AFS now, and I am a co-chair for that committee. And just this year, I learned a lot now operating at this kind of level with the society of how that program works. And just, it was sort of a sad outcome because of the state of affairs. Financially, the program did not have as much funding in it as in previous years, so we were only able to collect about $24 for the whole program. And we just got an update a couple days ago that actually only 11 of the students could be placed with, just because of everybody having the limited access to academic campuses, or not, state agencies, federal agencies still working from home, as opposed to inability where they could host scholars. So we're still planning to, as far as I know, we're still planning to meet at the meeting in September, but it is a much lower number of actual students being placed this year than in years past. But it's kind of cool that Florida chapter has a role in it now.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kathy, and also a past president that we could have recognized earlier but didn't see that name. And carry on with that. It's good to have you representing us up there, and also for your work taking care of those scholarships when you have those here. That's pretty cool there as well. Anybody else on National AFS or Southern Division? All right, Chris, this is you in minutes.
So I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the 39th annual business meeting of the Florida chapter of the American Fisheries Society as they appeared in the 2019 Shellcracker newsletter.
I move we approve.
Second the motion.
All right, the minutes have been approved. Thank you, guys. And we'll go ahead and apologize. I got notes and all kinds of different things opened up. So let me get the right things pulled up, and I'm going to go ahead and screen share the treasurer's report with everyone. Ooh, says I can't screen share. I'm not privileged to screen share. I can shoot this over to Dan, so he can put it up.
Try it again.
There we go. Yeah, my functionality just changed.
Sorry
Cool.
about that.
No problem.
You're welcome.
Also, while you're pulling that up, I forgot to mention there's a chat option. So in the center of your bar control panel down at the bottom, there is a chat bubble that you can either second motions, or you can approve, or when we do have discussion, you can chat in there as well. All right, I'm muting myself.
Thanks, Allison. So can everybody see the treasurer's report on my screen? Perfect. We'll just go over this real quick. At the beginning of the year, January 2019, we had $62,612 in cash between all of our accounts, in Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, and then PayPal. We had our mutual fund value for Stanley was worth $21,116 for total assets of $8,727. At the end of the year, we had $45,317 in cash. This was a decrease of $17,294 just in cash, and we'll kind of get to why that decrease happened in a minute. Our mutual fund did pretty well in 2019, and we actually were able to profit a little over $4,600 from our mutual fund, and that resulted in a $25,756 value at the end of the 2019 fiscal year. with total assets for the chapter at the end of that fiscal year at $71,073, which represented a $12,654 difference from the beginning of the year to the end. And scroll down. The majority of, we'll start with the credits or the income first. As most of you are aware, the majority of income comes from the chapter meeting, and the raffle and silent auction. You can see those on the top here. I've been working with Allison and the student subunit to kind of more closely track the student subunit income from year to year. So they have more than this moving forward, but they did make almost $800 on the sheep's head shuffle, selling the buffs, hats, and then donations from Amazon Smile. And really quick, if you shop on Amazon a lot, I would definitely recommend setting up an Amazon Smile account. It's relatively straightforward to set up. You pretty much just have to type smile.amazon.com at the beginning, and then you just set it to Florida chapter. And then you have to make sure that when you make a purchase that you're under the Smile URL, because it doesn't always bring it up. It's actually a little bit frustrating sometimes. But once you get it set up, and as long as you're paying attention to that, all your purchases should create a donation to the chapter. A little plug for Amazon Smile. I'm sure a lot of us are doing a lot of online shopping these days, so definitely something good to consider, and another way to give back to the chapter. We got our half of the Rotman Fund rebate. It was $1,000 standard for every single year, or at least it's standard since we raised it to $1,000 each. So that's half of the rebate for the Rotman scholarships we gave out from the Rotman Scholarship Specific Mutual Funds, which I'll discuss after I kind of get through this part of the Treasurer's Report. And then as part of the DeKean Trust, we received our annual disbursement of $1,000 as well. And then we have the 2018 kind of the Florida chapter dues refund, which is just chapter dues that were paid when you paid your national chapter dues. And then we also get a membership rebate check for every chapter member that is also a national member. So those are the two numbers you're seeing there. And then I think one of the most exciting things last year where we had these two donations. We had a $500 donation from Ron Taylor and a $50 donation from Kim Schwartz, and these were unsolicited. They kind of showed up one day. They let us know. It's just really awesome to have people, contributing to Florida chapter and kind of supporting our mission moving forward. So I definitely wanted to acknowledge Ron Taylor and Kim Schwartz for their donations. I'm not sure if either of you are here, but thank you so much for your donation. And then the main expenses are related to the business meeting and the silent auction here at the top. We pretty much broke even on the meeting, which was the goal. I know we had increased some prices on some things based on increases in prices with FFA, and it seemed like the price increase out pretty well from a financial standpoint from the chapter. Some of the other main things that and this is kind of the main area that contributed to that discrepancy in our amount of cash from the beginning of the year to the end, was that per our discussion during the business meeting last year by the AFS 2017 Funds Ad Hoc Committee, we had the $15,000 endowment for the Rotman Fund, and the goal of this was to increase the amount of money in the funds to kind of be able to support the $2,000 worth of scholarships every year. and I'll kind of get specifically into that in a minute. But that's a lot of where our discrepancy in cash comes from. That, and then also from our donation to U.S. Fishing for Success program. See, we also, from the student living expenses, we sponsored the Little Rock Southern Division meeting, and then we have for $1,000, and then we have the $2,000 for the Rotman scholarships, and that's kind of the main debits essentially. But essentially, all of the discrepancy that we see here in cash can essentially be related to endowing the Rotman Fund with the additional $15,000, and then our $2,000 donation for success. And we'll kind of talk a little bit, mention those donations a little bit more in the old business section of this meeting. So that's pretty much what I got for that part of the treasurer's report. So here you should see now the letter from Larry Connor, who's the treasurer of the Rotman Memorial Scholarship Fund. And as I mentioned, we voted to increase the endowment by $15,000. And this kind of gets into essentially, instead of getting reimbursed by the fund, the $1,000 was deducted from the endowment because it just made the financial things a little bit easier, so that the amount of the actual funds transferred from the chapter was $14,000. The fund incurred an account maintenance fee of $70, and it also received just over $1,700 in dividends, interest, and other distributions. And the net income for the fund was $15,726.23. So as of December 31st, 2019, the fund had assets of just under $49,000, which represents a $16,445 increase from the previous year, pretty much directly related to dividends and then the donation from the chapter. So there weren't any mutual fund shares sold this year, and the combined share balance for both of our mutual funds increased at a rate of 18.4%. 2019. So we did really, really good in 2019, and that since its inception, the fund has shown a almost 5% annual rate of return. So definitely a big jump in 2019. Now, and then like I kind of alluded to earlier, the fund's assets are sufficient to support the increased scholarships of $1,000 per scholarship and allow for future growth of the fund. So the Rotman Scholarship Fund is in really good shape. In general, the chapter is in really good shape financially. So I guess I think that's pretty much all I have for the treasurer's report. I'll go ahead and kick it back over to Bob to discuss what's going on, or I guess what's not going on with elections this year.
Thank you much, Chris. Very thorough. And I will go back to Wes Porak's reference to me during that Southern Division chapter award and how great the chapter is. That's not me. That's a strong supporting committee of all you guys out there and members. And I missed a XCOM meeting, and the next meeting somebody said something, and I found out that we didn't have elections and that everybody's staying in office. So hats off to all you guys that are doing that and thank you. And in the future, I'm expecting an asterisk next to my name saying, this guy was not elected. It took a global pandemic, and that's why we did this. I do believe we'll cover it later on that I think the subchapter, student subchapter, will be having some elections for turnover there, or wanted turnover there. Okay, after that, Chris, are you going to speak for Scott Bisbing on the newsletter?
Yes, I am. Real quick, I'm going to do the membership report first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem. Actually, just really quick, while we're talking about the shell cracker, I think Scott is here, but we've spoken with Scott, and Scott is willing to stay on for another year as the editor of the shell cracker. So thank you so much, Scott, for doing that. We really appreciate your service to the chapter. And I guess unless anybody has any, or I guess if Scott has any other announcements to make, which I don't believe so, we can move on to membership. All right. So can everybody see membership report again?
Yep.
That's good.
Okay, great. So in 2019, the Florida chapter ended the year with 223 members. So we gained 9 members from 2019. A total of 63 members paid their dues at the annual meeting in 2019, and 150 paid their dues through the Parent Society. We also had 9 renewals sent directly to Secretary Treasurer in 2019 via PayPal. And I guess speaking of PayPal, I know that pretty much everybody paid their dues during registration for the annual meeting, but all those had to be refunded to ensure that we got a full refund for everybody. If we kept the chapter dues, then the website would have charged us a fee that was greater than the chapter dues themselves. So we just figured we would just refund the chapter dues and have people repay them as they, as they saw fit. So if you haven't done that yet, please consider doing that, and you can go to the Florida chapter website to pay your dues via PayPal. Just a quick plug on that. Of our 223 members, we had 68 student members, which is really awesome. It's a pretty good proportion of our membership. And then approximately 80% of our chapter members were also Parent Society members. However, Larry has a note here to say that the breakdown of student and society members should be used with caution, mostly because we had not collected this information for those who joined during the annual meeting at previous meetings. And we will be changing this moving forward, either at the registration desk or during pre-registration. So if you plan on paying your chapter dues at the meeting, we might have a couple extra buttons essentially for you to click so we can collect the information on whether you are a student, a professional society member, or both. But yeah, I think, like I said, we had, and for just to highlight kind of the student involvement, we had 10 more student members in 2019 than we did in 2018, and I think that's awesome. And it's from looking back over time, it kind of seems like our number of student members kind of steadily going up and up. So really want to thank all the students out there for participating and encouraging other people that they know to participate. Because that's a really, I think, at least in my opinion, the getting students really involved and kind of facilitating their interaction with professionals in the fields that they will be working in is really, really important and beneficial. And I think that pretty much sums up membership.
And I'm looking for Eric Sutton here for the website and don't see him.
It's Eric Sawyer's actually.
I'm sorry.
He
Oh.
sounds like I've been elevated.
I
to
put a bigwig
director.
last name on there.
Wow. Appreciate that. Hey everyone, just a quick, I guess I don't know if it's an update about the website, but just some information. If anyone has any ideas for website content or ideas for changes to the website or features, please feel free to email me with those or contact me. I have a few things that you'll be seeing soon. I've got a list of the symposium, or I guess a list of the symposiums from all the previous chapter meetings going back in time. I'll be adding that soon. Also a link to the Facebook site, which I believe is going to come up a little bit later in the meeting. I was thinking, as you were talking about the Outstanding Chapter Award, that might be something that might be worth putting on there as well. If somebody could send me the picture of the award and maybe a little narrative that went up with it, I can add that somewhere on the site. And also, I know, I believe there was a call for pictures when you were submitting abstracts to Dan and Chris. If you all have pictures from that or from other sources that you would like to see on the website, please get those to me and I'll be glad to get those added to the website. But aside from that, that is all I have.
Thank you much, Eric Sawyer. But I do hope you move up to that other position. That would be something. I think Amanda and Chelsea are both here. Talk about the silent auction that is going to start soon.
Yes. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, both of you.
Yep.
All right. So first I want to thank everyone that helped with the raffle this year. Even though we didn't get to hold it in person, we had donations from about 30 companies totaling over $1,900 for that raffle. So next year we'll have even more. So come prepared to buy your tickets. It's going to be awesome. And of course, all of this wouldn't be possible without the volunteers who actually help us solicit those donations. So please join me and Chelsea in thanking Allison Donahue, Jeffrey Smith beside me, and Kathy Ginden, who helps us every year. We'd also like to thank Alan Collins, who, even though he passed down the raffle to us, every year helps us make it a success by donating. And Bob, who each year surprises us with an unexpected donation, which we never know is coming, but is always great. And so in addition to the raffle, this year we had silent auction donations that exceeded over $3,700. That included getaways to locations around Florida. And because we didn't want those donations to go to waste, we decided to move our silent auction virtual this year. So bidding on the silent auction opens today and will be open for 2 weeks, ending on June 17th. You can find the silent auction. Chris has the link in the meeting agenda, but it's at 32auctions.com/FLAFS20. And we'll be sending out an email and it'll be on our Facebook page as well to remind you guys. So I know with the concerns over COVID-19, we made sure that all of the businesses and the packages are still operating after all the Florida closures. A lot of them have new policies that require reservations so that they can adhere to social distancing and safety guidelines. So before you plan your trip, check their websites to see what those are. But everything is open and available for you to use. And a number of those donations have expiration dates that are years in advance, more than a year away. So if you're not planning to travel this year because you're concerned, you can still utilize a lot of those packages. So, and again, all the funds that we raise with the silent auction are going to the student travel grants during annual meeting. So please check it out. And if you're not interested in anything or not planning on traveling, there's a donate option there as well. So please check that out. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And yeah, it's a big revenue stream and finances all those students traveling around. What's next here? Rotman Scholarship. More details on that?
Yep.
Chuck, we can see you among the books.
Yeah, this is where a lot of the past auction items have come from as I try to clean out my office. So anyway, I'm looking at the list of who here, and I think most of you heard me give this presentation before, but I'll abbreviate it. This is actually, I think, the 22nd year we're giving the scholarship. Started in 1998. So again, early on, we had not many students when I first started with the chapter in like 86, if not any. And over the years, it's really become huge. Right now, 30%, and you guys do a brunt of the work that makes our chapter happen. And I think that's a little mix of the, you know, the scholarships, the travel grants. Again, Roger was a founding member of the chapter. He was one of the first 2 fisheries biologists hired by the university system here in Florida. He was a mix of fish ecology, biology, and aquaculture. He worked with Dick Anderson in Missouri, the developer of relative weight and PSD and RSD. He did a lot of early work on lakes, dealing with hydrilla control, fish populations, grass carp. He did a lot of aquaculture with spawning grass carp, triploid production, ornamental fish production, neon tetras, red-tailed sharks, rainbow sharks, pacu. He was kind of MacGyver. He could build anything out of anything. He was a huge mentor for grad students. A lot of students couldn't figure out how to run a shock boat or couldn't figure out how to build a fish feeder or put an aerator together. And Roger was kind of the go-to person that would help a lot of students get done. And so we started with a single $500 scholarship. And early on, we had master's students. That was really the brunt of our chapter. And then we started getting PhDs, masters, both applying for the scholarship. So we actually split it, 250 and 250. Because it was hard to compare a master's student to like a 3rd-year PhD student. So eventually the chapter decided to do 2 $500 scholarships, one at the master's, one at the PhD. And then we've been successful enough. We've had enough money in our chapter. We've moved that over to the Rotman fund. So we're now able to fund 2 $1,000 scholarships. If you go to the website, you can see everything they have to do to put their application together. There's all kinds of work experience and service to youth, service to community, service to the society, various professional involvement, presentations, publications, awards, transcripts, 2 letters of recommendation, and then a big part, which is really kind of fun to read, is an essay, kind of the role of fishery scientists in the management of Florida's aquatic resources. And something new that we started last year, if I remember right, is a summary of their research, their current research, which is then going to go into our shell cracker. So it's a way to feed information in to Dan. So we had a long list this year. It's kind of nice in honor of Roger. We actually have one person who's kind of fish biology, ecology, and a second recipient who's aquaculture. So we have 2 very different types of people in terms of what research they work on, sorta. And we always ask what they're going to use the money for. And one of them said reduce student loan debt, which is a wise use. At least they're not going on a trip to the Keys or something. And also attend the AFS meeting in Columbus. So they're going to have to figure out a different way to spend their $1,000 this coming year. So with that said, keep it short and sweet. I know Mike Allen gave me grief one year. The winner at the master's level, their thesis is evaluating larviculture protocols for 2 marine ornamental fish species. the work was done down at the UF Tropical Aquaculture Lab. Matt DiMaggio is the advisor, and the recipient at the master's level is Grace Sawowski, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Sorry, Grace, if I don't know how to pronounce your last name. It's almost as bad as Sikra.
That's okay. Thank you so much. It's Sawaski. You were close.
Sawaski?
Sawaski, yeah.
Sawaski. Okay.
It's a weird one. Thank you guys so much. I'm really happy to receive this award. It's a great honor. Thank you.
Congratulations. And Grace has been involved in the chapter, giving posters and involved various levels. Again, all the 2 recipients, you look at the packets, everybody who applied, any one of them definitely is a recipient. And it's really kind of tough to kind of look at it. But this year, the number ones were the number ones for the judges. So at the PhD level, the dissertation topic is domestication effects on life history traits in the guppy with implications for invasiveness. Our very own Allison Derlin Donahue, and her advisor is Jeff Hill, and she did that work down also at the UF Tropical Aquaculture Lab. So congratulations to both of you. Again, the packets, we always joke as full professors looking at assistants coming up to associate, how thank God we don't have to compete with these guys for tenure and promotion, sort of. We never would have gotten it. And looking at the students coming up, the number of publications and presentations and best paper award and poster awards, involvement in society, I mean, my gosh, you know, the quality of our students coming through, I mean, hopefully they'll be very competitive in the future for positions in our field. So they really, I mean, the quality of our fisheries people are really, really coming up in the world. So congratulations to both of you, and the few people that applied who did not get it. We had multiple applications at both levels. Try again next year if you can. It's hard sometimes, a first-year student compared to like a third-year student, or like a sixth-year master's student. No, just kidding. Okay, so congratulations. And again, we'll be using their research updates. If you need to update your research update, let Dan know, and he'll get it into the shell cracker. We may do one each, I don't know if you want to do them both in the same or in a couple different newsletters. Okay, so under Florida Chapter Awards, the one award that we have given for about the last 10 years is the Rich Kelto Award. Again, Rich also passed away from cancer, such as Roger. Rich was a graduate at the University of Florida with his master's. I had the joy of working with Rich when he was a grad student here. He went to work for Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, probably about 20 years, I'm guessing. Worked up in the Panhandle, freshwater fisheries type work. The award's been given, and the people that have won it, if you go to the website, I mean, it's the crux of, you know, kind of the history of the chapter. People like Ron Taylor, I see a lot of them. Wes Porek is here. We can't get rid of Wes, even though he's retired. Alan Collins, you guys mentioned earlier. Alan's still involved. Larry Connor, we saw a bunch of stuff from Larry. Eddie Matheson, you know, kind of a little fish nerd. Eddie and I were grad students together about 40 years ago. You know, Mike Murphy, Bob Wattendorf. So some really, really outstanding people. This year we have decided not to give the award because we're having to meet virtually. And the XCOM decided not to do it because part of receiving the award is standing up in front of this group of people and being sort of embarrassed about your accomplishments that have been achieved. Again, it takes a minimum of 20 years of work in Florida in fisheries related field. I had the honor of getting this award. It's probably the best award I've ever been given. Probably in my career. I really, really enjoyed getting it. So we decided really an in-person way with the person in front of our group, with all of us in audience, is the best way to do it. So we opted not to give this award next year, this year. So next year, we'll go ahead and give the award. And then the only other thing I was listed for are the travel grants. We had 19 students apply for the travel grants. We had University of Florida, Florida International, Florida Atlantic, Nova Southeastern, and University of South Florida. We had applicants from all 5 of those universities. There were 9 PhDs, 8 masters, and 2 undergrads. So we had quite a breadth of degrees and also where they're from. Again, we are not awarding them. We will virtually award them to you guys, okay? So the check is in the mail, okay, or electronically we'll send it to you. But we'll hold off. We'll use the money from our raffle towards next year's, along with whatever money we make this year. But one thing we would like to do is that as part of the application, we now require the students to give us information for a blog, which our student subunits folks oversee. So we are going to ask you guys electronically through email if it's okay to use it. And if you need it updated, please update it. And then our people, whoever they are, that's something that will come up. We need some new students. Our students are wanting to graduate for some reason. And move on to real jobs. Okay. Is that Hagee again? Okay. So on that note, I will quit. So congratulations all you. I wish we were able to get together as a group. You guys pretty much run a lot of the chapter, present a lot of the talks, a lot of the presentations. I wish we could do it, but we'll have to hold off till next year.
Great. Thanks, Chuck. And yeah, that was my dumb birds. At least it's not the chickens in the backyard looking through the back door. That's happened before. Next up, Allison, you're going to update us on all the student stuff and good things, and congrats to you.
Thank you. So I have to apologize because lawnmowers are outside, so I am sorry if you can hear that. First, let me share my screen. Let's do this. I have a little presentation for you guys. Just 2 seconds. All right. And you probably can hear my dogs going crazy in the background too. So apologies for all of that. All right, so first I want to give a shout out to Carissa Dravarsi, who won the 2019 AFS writing contest. So she's a student with us and she won, so that's really exciting. And then also, as Chuck said, we do have that Reefs to Rivers blog, and we use those essays that were submitted with the travel grants. We post those throughout the year on our blog, and what we typically do in a normal year when we are in person is whoever is in charge of the blog that year will email whoever submitted the blog, ask them if they want any edits before it gets posted. So this year we're going to also ask if it's still okay to post those blogs even though you didn't receive the travel grant. And a thought on that is that your research is ever evolving. And so this will actually give you, if you apply again next year, this will give you 2 lines on your CV where you have some social media, blog posts, outreach that you can put on your CV. So we promote research in a couple of ways. One is through the Reefs to Rivers blog, through the Shellcracker student articles. So both Grace and I, because we won the Rotman, we are going to be, our essay for that will be submitted to the Shellcracker as a student research highlight. And then usually the president of the subunit determines which Shellcracker that goes into. I'm obviously working with Scott on that. And so that's usually ones in the spring, I think, and then ones in the fall, kind of split them up a little bit. And then also we have a Facebook and we also have an Instagram. We also have a lot of last year we posted 15 blogs, so that's pretty exciting. That's more than once a month. This year, hopefully there'll be 19 if everyone says it's okay. We also have a lot of student subunit fundraisers that we do, and the profits from these go towards travel grants for the Southern Division, and then also the national meeting. And unfortunately, this year, there was no national meeting, so even though we had funds for it, we weren't able to give a travel grant for that, and then no one applied for the Southern Division 1. All right, so one of those fundraisers, our biggest one, is the Sheep's Head Shuffle Virtual 5K. This was established in 2017. In that year was when the annual meeting of the parent chapter, or sorry, the national chapter, or national AFS, was in Tampa. So we had a lot more participation in that. We raised almost $2,800. In 2018, we raised about $1,000, and last year we only raised $454. But we're hoping to increase that this year, which I'll talk about later. But we have an additional incentive this year. So last year's winners, I won fastest shuffler, Shirley Baker won slowest shuffler. The most interesting location was split between Carrie and Shirley. The marathon shuffler, the person who ran the most, was Carrie. And then the fastest team was myself and my husband, Scott. And then Amanda and Jeff raised the most money for the Sheep's Head Shuffle. So shout out to all of them. And so people submit selfies to either our email address or our social media accounts, and we get to post them, and they're always fun, different locations, different funny faces, different animals included in the pictures, so it's always a good time. And then so this year, because a lot of chapter meetings were canceled due to COVID, we actually worked together with other subunits whose meetings, or student subunits whose chapter meetings were canceled, and any members from their chapter that participate in the Sheep's Head Shuffle, they will get a percentage of the profits. So the registration fee is $30. They get $20 of that, and then we keep 10. So it's an additional incentive. We also were able to advertise this during the virtual spring AFS meeting. And so I think that also increased a lot of participation. So we're doing quite well this year, and we'll give you a final number next year because this is not over yet. You all can still participate. It closes on June 14th. You can register at our Eventbrite website there. We'll also probably do another email blast before the 14th. But it's essentially you can run, walk, shuffle, crawl, whatever you choose. Just go 5K. You can do it in as many legs as you want. And it raises money for student travel grants to meetings that are hopefully being held next year. We also sell swag. So we have these really cool blue buffs right now, which are a great alternative to face masks. And then we also sell koozies, and we have these neat hats. And then these are our fun models that are modeling how you can wear a buff if you so choose. If you're interested in purchasing any swag, shoot me an email, or if you don't have my contact information, you can shoot Chris an email and he can get in contact with me. All right, and then Chris nicely did a little plug for Amazon Smile earlier, but this is just another plug and has the steps on how to set it up. So this was established in 2018. In 2018, we raised $56. In 2019, we raised $71, which is, it's not a ton of money, but it adds up and it's nice to have. And so essentially, you just go to smile.amazon.com. You search for American Fishery Society, and then it will essentially you select that, and then you can participate in donating. It's essentially pennies on a purchase, but it does add up and donates to us for that. You just have to, like Chris said, make sure you're at smile.amazon.com when you are shopping. All right, so that's it on our fundraisers. We are holding officer elections this year. I know it's not going to be the norm, but 3 of us are graduating, so we need some turnover, unfortunately. So first and foremost, I want to thank all the officers that have helped throughout this year, and some have actually been officers for a couple of years, and I really appreciate working with them. So Beth Bowers, Lauren Kirscher, and Grace Sawaski, thank you ladies so much. And then we will be holding elections for new officers for the 2020 to 2021 term. So your term would end at our meeting, the chapter meeting next year. So we are going to hold them Wednesday, June 17th at 10 a.m. It'll be via Zoom. Chris will send out an email for us with all the details. And we'll also post it on our social media. And we are also going to make it so you have to self-nominate yourself. So email the student subunit email address, get your nomination in there, and then we'll have a poll for voting. All right, and then last but not least, we have a couple of options to get involved, and that includes our Reefs to Rivers blog, as well as our Instagram and our Facebook. And with that, that is all I have.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And genius moves in marketing for the Sheepshead Shuffle. Getting creative there. You guys got some business minds in there.
Yeah, we'll have to give a shout out to Chris for helping out with that particular one for this year. It was kind of his idea to see if we could include other student chapters in there. So there's something.
That's great. Yeah. Chris is really strong. Glad to have him behind me and for everybody else. Old business. Nick, you ready to take care of this?
Sure. Let me see if I can get my screen shared. Everybody see that?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, so yeah, it's update on the cleanups. Originally this started 2 years ago, I guess it was. We formed a committee to try to develop some kind of project the chapter could do in to have something other than just the annual meeting, to do something for the state of Florida. The idea we came up with was to have aquatic cleanups around the state. That way most of our members could participate. The original committee was Angela Collins, Amy Brownfield, Beth Bowers, Lauren Kircher, Allison, Andy Strickland, Kathy, and myself. So thanks to that committee for getting this going and coming up with a good idea. Some of the locations where some of these events have happened thus far, like Jackson, the Harris Chain of Lakes, then in Boca Raton, Kathy at the FYCCN in Apollo Beach, Cockroach Bay, and Terracea Bay. Some of the highlights, the one in Boca brought out a lot of people, over 70 people, almost 1,000 items of trash at Cockroach Bay, almost 2,000 items of trash at Terracea. Apollo Beach, Kathy and her crew got 400 pounds of trash out during 2 events. We've had 2 events now at the Harris Chain of Lakes and removed about 1,500 pounds of trash. There was also an event in Cedar Key. They removed a bunch of old aquaculture clam bags and clam aquaculture gear. And there's been 2 events at Lake Jackson also, but I've not got an update on what the totals removed from that were. Here's just some of the pictures. I know this is the one event Angela Collins put together, and Allison also. Here's some from, I believe this is the FYCCN and Kathy's group. Some more from Kathy's group. This is from the Harris Chain event. This one was interesting. Someone found a bag full of likely what was stolen cell phones that someone threw into the lake. This was our last event at the Harris Chain events. We got the mayor from Tavares to come out. We've got a real good relationship with City of Tavares, putting these events together. This is from Cedar Key. All the, like I said, the aquaculture gear they removed during a one-day event. I forget what the total was, but it was a lot. One of the staff found a new pair of shoes. She was pretty excited. As far as future plans, we hope to keep this annually events. I know we're all busy. These events are really only about a half day a year, so it's not that hard to squeeze in a half day somewhere free. The idea, we did the first ones in the spring, and then we decided it'd be good just to host these on the same day as the International Coastal Cleanup Day, which is September 19th for this year. Now we can do these events any time of year. That was just an idea to make it easy for everyone to remember. If you are interested in hosting one of these events, or you can also just participate in an event that another agency is putting on. But if you do want to host one, the chapter, I've talked to XCOM, but in the past, it's been no problem getting reimbursed for trash bags, gloves, water, that kind of stuff, supplies for these events. It's been a great way to develop partnerships. We've worked with DEP, like I said, we worked with City Tavares. So anyone interested in hosting one of these events in the future, just let me know. We like to keep track of how many have been done and what we've picked up. I know Bob keeps telling me he's got some trashy area he wants to take me to. Hopefully we can keep it going, and that's it.
Good stuff. Thanks, Nick. And yeah, I got big plans. Just and now we have all this time, but it's easy to come up with excuses, right? But I want to get the treasure back in the water. Next up, hopefully Eric's still here. He can talk about the funds from AFS 2017.
Okay. Am I coming in okay, Bob?
Yes, thank you much.
All right. So I'll try to keep this brief. As you might have read in the minutes that we just approved, that Jeff Hill appointed an ad hoc committee 2018 that was charged with exploring options for uses of the profit Florida chapter from hosting the 2017 AFS meeting. And at that time, it was estimated that about $33,000 was generated from hosting that meeting. That was above our operating budget and therefore available for Florida chapter projects, activities, or donations. Jeff appointed myself and Chuck Sicker as co-chairs, and then we recruited Carrie Flaherty-Walia, Kevin Johnson, and Travis Tootin to represent the committee. So Chris Anderson touched on a few of these things already, but in short, the committee evaluated several ideas, and we ultimately recommended 3 uses. The first was to increase the amount of money in the Rotman Scholarship Fund. As you already heard, the Rotman contributes $1,000 to $1,000 in the chapter. Historically, $1,000. The committee recommended that the fund be increased to $15,000 to maximize the gains generated by the fund and therefore be more capable of withstanding the annual scholarship withdrawals that would total $2,000. So as you already heard, that happened. The second recommendation was to send the winner of the Florida chapter AFS Best Student paper to the AFS meeting of their choice and support all their travel expenses. And one of the stipulations of that we were hoping to include as part of this recommendation was that they would be required to then compete in the AFS Best Student Presentation Symposium. So we did send Kaylee Schultz to the AFS meeting, but because of the timing associated with when our chapter meeting is held versus when the applications for the Best Student Symposiums are screened, the plan for our Best Student Presentation winner participating in that Best Student Symposium didn't work out. And we tried to exert any influence we had with the committee chairs, and it was really just met with dead end, and they really didn't want to bend the way they were doing things and fast track students into the symposium, which is understandable. So moving forward, if we continue to do something like that, we just have to know that aspect of what the committee ultimately decided on as a stipulation would probably not work. The final thing that the committee recommended, which we already heard of also from Chris, was a donation in the amount of $8,000 to be split evenly between each of the Florida 3 youth conservation centers and the University of Florida's Fishing for Success program, which, as you already heard, has also happened. So beyond those 3 recommendations and our formal report that went along with it, the committee has not met any further. So unless, Bob, we receive any further marching orders from you or from Dan as the incoming president, that report will stand and our committee will dissolve. The end.
Thank you much. I'm looking at next here. Where we at? Chris? Southern Division, is that Pig Memorial?
Yeah, so I was approached about by Adrian Stanfill, who works with DFFM in FWC. He's a member of the Southern Division Warm Water Streams Committee. And every year, let me pull up my notes real quick. Every year they award two scholarships and for graduate students. And essentially, Adrian reached out to me prior to when our annual meeting was supposed to take place, and asking if we could kind of bring this up to kind of discuss in terms of, I guess, profit spending. We have about $6,700 left over in profits. So this was just kind of one of the ways that I thought we could potentially spend some of this money. I hadn't really put too much thought into how much exactly, but I think kind of essentially the main requirements for applying for this scholarship is you essentially just need to sorry about this. So yeah, essentially you just need to work on warm water streams, and that they do the applications are due in mid-January each year, and then they announce the winners at the spring business meeting for Southern Division. And like I was trying to say, these awards are limited to graduate students who work on streams and rivers. So this is something that any interested student members out there that work on streams or rivers, feel free to apply for, and that we could also, and like I said, just kind of wanted to bring it up as something to discuss, maybe contributing some money to this year towards that scholarship fund. Essentially, the winner receives a plaque, a $250 scholarship, and a one-year student membership to the American Fishery Society. And he does mention in his letter that they are hoping to build it up to offer $500 scholarships, and that they're open to any donations that the chapter can offer. So this was just something that I wanted to bring up during the meeting. It was kind of one idea how we could contribute or use some of the profits from the Tampa meeting to kind of contribute towards scholarships, maybe a little outside of our chapter, a little bit of a broad with our nation. If anyone has any, I guess, questions about that, let me know. I'll do my best to answer them, provide any background information. You may be interested in hearing that. But that pretty much sums it up for that item of business. And kind of, Bob, you can kind of we can discuss these different things now, or if as president you would like the funds committee to continue moving forward, we can keep them together, and they can kind of discuss some more ideas for how we can use the
My preference here is that the committee isn't dissolved. Did Eric say they were dissolving?
It's up to you.
I'm happy to continue looking into different uses. Given that, my feeling was that given that, we're at about 6,700 now, it's not really a lot of money for us to really investigate a lot of there's really neat possibilities, but we're certainly happy to put our heads back on the drawing board and talk about these things. With respect to the Jimmy Pigg Award, being a river guy at heart, I really like what that scholarship is intended to do. My only concern is that it's very freshwater centric, obviously, and you know, it wouldn't necessarily meet all the demands of our chapter members. But but I do really like that scholarship fund a lot. But anyhow, without rambling any further, Bob, I'm happy to continue serving in that capacity if you want.
That would certainly be my preference, and I don't know if that's for me to decide, but you guys done a fantastic job, and not only sending the money to great places, but I think it also gets us more recognition and gets us awards. It's kind of a great cycle there, and I certainly trust you guys. So that would be my preference. Chris, you want to go ahead with these next ones, and then we can open that up to a group discussion there?
There's actually some people that have made some comments in the chat. Carrie, if you want to go ahead, since you got yours in first, if you want to kind of bring up what you said in the chat out loud, that would be great.
So in our initial recommendations, we talked about funding student travel to the national meeting when they get the best student paper award. So some of that extra money could just be banked for that purpose. And that would be an easy way to use some of those extra funds in a kind of a, you know, intentional way. That's all I had to say. But we can always discuss that in the committee as well.
Yeah, I think that's something that would be good for the committee to discuss, just I guess in the interest of transparency, and obviously it's going to vary from meeting to meeting, but it cost us about $1,800 to send Kaylee to Reno. Almost half of that was lodging accommodations. So I guess just so that's out there and we get an idea of if we were to use that just for travel grants, we would probably have that for about 3 or 4 years, and then that would be at that rate would be it. Does anyone have any comments on using those funds for funding the best student paper winner to national AFS before we move on to Sherry's comment? All right, so Sherry, you can go ahead and bring up what you brought up in the chat out loud, please.
I think Carrie's idea is good. I think hanging on to it for a while is a good idea. You know, we'll have that to fund even if it's only 3 years, and then we can come up with a plan B for how we're going to fund those students to go to AFS. But when you did the treasurer's report, we gained a ton of money this year because the stock market was hot, and the stock market has eaten it this year in a big way. And I think there might be some wisdom into going and discussing what we want to do with this money, but hanging on to it until our investments recover, so that we're cash fluid for this time, because we're going to get canned this year in our investments unless the stock market does something amazing between June and December. And it might just be not that to be greedy and we're going to keep it, but to use it as liquid cash while we're recovering. And then, you know, we'll have it for student travel, whatever it is we want. That's all.
I think that's a really good point, and something that I hadn't brought up yet, but I guess it's very relevant to that perspective, is that, which I guess a little bit spoiler alert for next year's Rotman report, but so far this year, the Rotman Fund has lost about $5,000. But the good news is that, and although Larry claims no clairvoyance about what happened, he actually had not invested. He had deposited and had them in the account, but he hadn't invested a lot of the $15,000 endowment that we added to the fund last year. So that money actually, so as a whole, we could have lost a lot less, I guess, trying to find the silver lining in all that. But yeah, I think that's a really good point to bring up. And, you know, obviously we still got 6 months left in this year, and, you know, who knows how this is all going to go. So maybe just kind of thinking about long-term for the Rotman as well, some implications there that I guess it's important for the committee to consider moving forward.
Agreed.
Hey, Chris, I got a question. On the budget that you showed for 2019, you showed the $2,000 for Fishing for Success. I did not see $6,000 for FYCCN. Was the check cut in 2020 or 2019? Or did I just totally miss it?
No, so that's very astute of you.
I'm an anal editor, sorry. You can ask some of the folks on this.
I knew somebody was going to have a question about that. So that check did not end up getting cashed until 2020. So that's why I left that off the 2019 Treasurer's Report. But I have confirmed with Tallahassee and FYCCN that the check has been deposited, and they were, you know, extremely grateful for our donation. So that all went through. It just took a little bit longer. But I didn't want to, I thought it was a little misleading it made the numbers kind of weird to include that on everything, and it kind of looked like we took more of a hit than we actually did. So since that technically went in 2020, I'll have that listed on the 2020 Treasurer's Report for 2021. But I just thought for ease of working with the numbers in my mind, it just made more sense to take it off since the money was actually withdrawn in 2020.
And that was on me, guys. My apologies. I had the actual check squirreled away in my desk at work, and a giant check behind my door that we were going to present at Marine Quest and get pictures and all these good things. And then, like other things that happened in the last year or so, we had a big storm come through and cancel Marine Quest, and everybody ran home before we thought to do that. So my bad, but he cut another check and got it done. It just happened a year later.
And we thank you.
Money got to the right places. Any other ideas? And I think this is where we're going to say that committee is alive and well, and some fiscally wise advice from Cherie there that maybe you want to keep that money, and just in case things don't get better soon. Glad to see that most of us are still employed. And anything else for that or old business? Not hearing anybody, or somebody still fumbling for their mute button or chat. I'm not following those chat comments. I hope that Chris is. All right, new business. Again, marketing and membership. And this time I think we're talking local, and that's Carrie, and then Chelsea's going to give us survey results, or we go direct into that. Your choice, guys.
Hey, Chelsea, why don't I go ahead and just do the announcements first, and then you can get into the survey results and we can move on. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. So the Marketing and Membership Committee has had a lot of plans over the last year to get some more information out about the chapter. And the first thing we kind of wanted to do was to take a survey and see what people thought about the chapter and what they want to get out of the chapter, which is what Chelsea's going to talk about. But in addition to that, Allison and Amanda actually put together a Facebook page for the Florida chapter. So if you have any type of events or things that you want to post to the chapter, there's also going to be a job board where they're going to post job postings. each month. So if you send a message to that Facebook page with any suggestions, they'll get back to you. So I want to really thank Allison and Amanda for setting that up. That was all them. And then also, you know, as Eric Sawyer's talked about, we're giving him some information to kind of help update the webpage, and some of the other committees have been involved in that as well. So, you know, talking about updating the website so that all the symposium topics are there, so that if people want information about the chapter and what we've done in the past, it's all, you know, just kind of in print without having to sift through the shell crackers. So we've got some more plans in the works, but basically the main gist of what we've done is the survey. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Chelsea.
Okay, and then I'm going to share my screen. Yay. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yep.
Yes, yay, okay. So we're excited to talk about some of the results of this membership survey. You all also got a PDF report that has, you know, all the results detailed, and we encourage you to look through that because there's a lot more detail in there. There's some interesting stuff. We're just gonna talk about some of the findings today in the interest of time. So as Carrie mentioned, this is part of the work of the Marketing and Membership Ad Hoc Committee, and one of our goals was to promote the chapter across the state, you know, work on increasing membership and participation in our meetings. And so we figured an important first step in that was to figure out who we are right now, how our current members feel about things, what people are getting out of engaging with the chapter, and then also what are some of the barriers to participation, what keeps people from engaging or going to the meetings right now. So to get at that, as you probably know, because you probably heard from us this spring, we came up with an online survey that was emailed out to all of the 220 members we had on the membership list. And this was sent out in early February 2020, right before everything kind of fell apart. And as an incentive, recipients were told if they fill out the survey, they can get entered to win $100 worth of gift cards from West Marine. And then additional reminders were sent out throughout the month to people who hadn't filled out the survey yet. And in total, we had 104 people fill out the survey for a response rate of 47%, which is pretty awesome. Coming from fisheries stakeholder surveys, I'm used to like 9 to 12% response rates, so it's pretty cool to see. As we walk through the results, I do want to highlight that we have not had the chance to run what we call non-response bias checks on this. So we don't know if those 53% who didn't fill this out might differ in significant or important ways from the 47% we heard from. So just keep that in mind when we think about, you know, how much we can generalize these results to absolutely everyone in the chapter, but we can say it speaks for about half of our members. So briefly highlighting, you know, who we are. These are just some of the demographics. Again, a lot more detail in that report. 2/3 of respondents were men, average age was 42, and we had a pretty good split across career stages. Half of respondents about identified as established in their career, roughly a quarter were graduate students, and about a quarter were early career. And then we had some undergrads and some individuals who were retired as well. So it's a pretty good spread. Looking at what systems people are working in, we asked what describes your work. You see 39% of respondents said, you know, only marine was the only one they picked. 23% only picked freshwater. We had a few who only work in diadromous systems. And then about a third work in some combination of these. And then looking at where people are currently employed, a little bit more than a third of respondents work at a state agency right now, and a little bit more than a third work in academia. But I do want to note that about half of those in academia are students. So that leaves 17% of our respondents who are working non-students, you know, faculty, for example. And then we had everyone else distributed across, you know, NGOs, consulting firms, federal agencies, other or not currently employed. We also asked students what careers they aspire to. So what do our students want to go into? And you can see almost all of them selected agency. This was followed by 2/3 picked NGOs. They're interested in going into NGOs, followed by academia, consulting, extension, and then some other ideas. So we also asked everyone to click the point on the map that corresponded with where they live in Florida, just to get an idea of our geographic spread. And you can see we have people from the Panhandle all the way through south to the Florida Keys, but there's some clear hotspots here, right, in Gainesville and St. Pete, and some areas where maybe we don't have that much representation in South Florida and up in the Panhandle, for example. Looking at how respondents are participating in the chapter right now, we asked, how long have you been a member? And we had a range of 1 to 44 years. So some brand new members, some people who've been a part of the chapter for a long time. Almost half had been involved for less than 5 years, but that makes sense because about half of our respondents were either students or early career professionals. We asked how people are engaging with the chapter, and almost all said that they're reading the Shellcracker. About 2/3 said that they're going to annual meetings. 10%, interestingly, have never participated in the chapter, even though they're members, and 4% said that they're no longer participating. And again, we're trying to get at barriers, and so we asked them why they've stopped, and responses included lack of time, people just got too busy, or life changes like graduation or retiring. So how do people feel about membership right now? So we asked respondents to rate on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being not at all important, 5 being extremely important, how important these different things were with regard to their membership in the Florida chapter. And you can see on average, they're all relatively important. Opportunities to learn about other research going on in the state was the most important on average, followed by networking, professional development, and opportunities to share my research. So then we also asked them how well the Florida chapter is facilitating each of these things currently, again on that scale of 1 to 5, 1 not at all, 5 extremely well. And you can see that on average, opportunities to learn about other research and share my research were rated highest, followed by networking and professional development. And so this identifies, for example, maybe we could facilitate professional development a little bit better because that is relatively important to our chapter members. And looking overall, on average, respondents agreed that the Florida chapter is relevant to them and that being a member is beneficial. Looking at how people feel about our annual meetings right now. So these are just averages reported. We asked respondents to rate on a scale of 1 to 5, again, 1 poor or very bad, 5 perfect, these different aspects of our current meeting. And you can see on average, they all skewed towards the positive, ranging from 3.65 on average with regard to meeting location out of 5, time of year was 3.42 out of 5, days held of the week, 3.68 out of 5, and content 4.02 out of 5. And again, they're skewing towards the positive, and a lot of these also had a high proportion of respondents who just selected 3 in the middle. You can see 2 examples there on those graphs. So that indicates it doesn't matter too much to them either way. When we look at cost of the meeting, 66% of respondents said it's perfect right now. 31% said it is higher than they would like to see it. And then finally, we had some open-ended free response questions to get at how people feel about things and things we could change in the future. Again, those are all written up verbatim in that report that you have, and definitely give those a look through. There's some really cool ideas in there. I'm just gonna highlight some of the big themes that came out. So when we asked, is there anything you'd like to get out of membership that the chapter doesn't currently provide? Mentorship is something that came up a few times. More opportunities, more facilitation of mentorship, connecting those new professional students with those established career members. Also connections with different politicians and leaders and other people throughout the state. In addition, the idea of doing more throughout the year beyond the chapter meeting, more things that can connect us across the year came up. When asked, has anything made it hard to attend meetings? And again, we're trying to get at, what are the barriers to people coming to our annual meetings? Cost came up a few times, as well as distance to the meeting, the timing of the year. We know there's no perfect time of the year, but that was brought up as a barrier to some people attending our meetings, getting approval or support to attend. And then other commitments, a lot of people are busy. Having kids came up a few times, other things that are going on, other meetings people have to go to. And then we asked, is there anything we should change about our annual meetings? And a few people talked about changing locations. Some, mentioned maybe rotating different places in different years, for example. Changing the timing came up a couple times. Ensuring that we still have cost support for students and maybe offering it for non-students too. There were some suggestions for changes to structure or topics in the meeting. For example, trying out concurrent sessions, or maybe in addition to the focal symposium, having sessions focus on other things like marine systems or freshwater fisheries to draw in people who might not have anything related to the symposium come up, and ensuring that continuing education opportunities continue. So just to summarize all that, looking at our respondents, they show that we do have a diversity of career stages, tracks, and interests and disciplines represented within our chapter, though there is a lot of representation from state agency and academia, in that case, a lot of students. We have a lot of new members and some clear geographic hotspots in the state. And overall, the majority are relatively okay with our meeting logistics, but a number of members would like to see maybe different locations, think current costs might be too high for what we're getting, or have suggestions to changing the timing of the meeting. And then finally, some suggestions and things to think about moving forward that came out of this. The idea that we could think about different opportunities for professional development, because that was something that's important to the survey respondents, to our members, increasing opportunities for mentorship connections and other things we can do throughout the year. So again, that's just a flyby summary. Go through that report. I'm happy to answer any questions. There's all sorts of stuff we could pull out of these data, like comparisons across different groups if you're interested. And in close, we do want to congratulate Emily for winning our drawing. Yay, Emily, you got a gift card. I don't think she's here, but congratulations to her. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see you all again, because it's weird just talking to my computer. But I do want to say it's so cool to see and hear you all. I'm sure we all agree. I feel like we're on an episode of Reunited Apart or something, but this is cool. Okay. So does anyone, I don't know if we want to open this to questions or if that would be better done later.
Any questions for Chelsea? Thank you so much. That was a great presentation. Any questions for her?
Oh, I see one question here. The student percentages of career choice add up to over 100% because they could select more than one. So, oh yeah, and Allison said that. All right, I'll catch up.
Cool. No, fantastic. And if that's it for that, and actually we will have a follow-up to some of those suggestions from people coming up right here. Dan and Chris going to talk about our next meeting, when and where, and then future after that.
Yeah, so thanks for everyone that's presented. Thanks, Chelsea. That was an awesome presentation. So Chris and I have been in contact with FFA and with some of the what's been going on with the COVID pandemic. We have now set the dates. We've transferred our deposit from this year to next year, which they allowed us to do. So that's all rolling over. We are doing similar time frame as far as it's April 6th through 8th of 2021. That is switching to a Tuesday through Thursday. And that was because FFA had a weekend retreat that was already booked, and most of the weeks in April and March were booked outside of that, and the results of this survey were not finished when we did that. So hopefully we can hear from some of those folks that had suggestions in the survey on how we can change that. But so just to reiterate, April 6th through 8th, 2021, we are going to have our 40th in-person meeting, 41st overall, and we'll likely continue with the same symposium we did last year. But you know, be sure to check the shell cracker and in your emails for further updates on that. Chris, anything else from you? I think you had some lodging stuff.
Yeah, so excuse me. So over the past couple months, like Dan said, we've been talking with FFA Center, and thankfully, you know, with everything going on with COVID-19, they allowed our deposit to transfer over to 2021. That is not part of the contract. That was kind of something that they just stepped up to do, which we really appreciate. And it also kind of is pretty much our option for 2021 because of that. There is going to be one thing or a couple things that will be changing. One of them is related to lodging costs. The FFA Center went ahead and they renovated all the rooms in the lodge. And the cost of those rooms is now $40 more than it was in previous years. The villa rooms have remained the same price. And we've had an XCOM meeting or two about this. And we think that the best way to, since we're, you know, locked into going there for 2021, we figured that since some people were complaining about the cost of the meeting, that we did not want to average the cost of the rooms together. So what we're going to do is we're going to give people the option to generally choose which type of room that they would like during pre-registration. So you'll have the option to choose a lodge room, which will now be $140 per night instead of $100, or the villa rooms will remain at $100 per night. And there's not really much we can do about that. We definitely, you know, hear some of the complaints for the cost of the meeting, and definitely understand that the cost of the meeting relative to prior costs for this meeting has definitely gone up. However, the meeting cost is in general still relatively low compared to other meetings. Trying to find some of the other examples, like the Florida Lake Management First Society charges almost $300 for registration. And that's almost the entire cost of our meeting. So I know that and the XCOM acknowledges that our meeting costs have gone up. That's just kind of the price of having a nicer venue at the FFA Center instead of the 4-H camp, and just kind of how venues are going in general. It's becoming more expensive for these types of things. So we just wanted to let everybody know that ahead of time. You know, there'll be emails sent out about all this as we kind of work through the next couple months, finalizing everything with FFA. So like Dan said, it's going to be April 6th through the 8th for 2021. And the XCOM, you know, paying attention to the results of the survey, you know, we wanted to bring up, to give members an option to, you know, be part of a search committee to try to find a new location. We had a variety of different ideas with that. We could, you know, go to the FFA Center every couple years. You know, we could try to have other locations that we alternate between that are maybe located in different parts of the state, maybe more towards South Florida some years, maybe more towards the Panhandle in other years, just to kind of try to move the meeting around and try to kind of limit some of those barriers to participation that some people listed in the survey. So we're definitely, you know, doing our best to hear what y'all got to say, and kind of move forward with that information to try to kind of have the most accommodating and cost-effective meeting that we can kind of put together. So Bob is kind of the committee contact for that, and so if anybody would like to form a search or be part of a search committee to look for alternate locations, please reach out to Bob or any one of us in the XCOM, and we can move, pass it over. But it's definitely, like we said, we're trying to do our best to listen to what membership is saying, and at least explore some different options and see what we can do from a location and cost perspective.
Thanks, Chris. And continuation and background on that, we've changed venues in the last few years. And I remember the days of the fire camp that was really nice and cozy. The food was outstanding, accommodations. Well, you don't spend much time in your bunk anyway. The bonfire was great. It had all these great things going for it, but things changed and we outgrew that venue. And they had a committee and they searched all over Florida. And I wasn't on that committee, and I felt kind of left out that thought I wanted to be on that committee. And then when I heard their reports about how hard it is to find what we are looking for, and this place meets that cost, it is 3 times as much as I remember it being. But that's the times we're in. I do hope that somebody's going to step up and take on this committee, because I don't think that's me, because I don't hold a lot of confidence that we can find as good a place. But I am happy for people to look for that, and I'm totally understanding of people saying that it would be nice to have someplace else. And then the other thing that we kicked around a little bit was moving this meeting around the state. So one year, every other year or something like that, we could move up north, and another year we could move further down south. But again, it's finding those venues, and the one of the costs of being at a hotel, it's not just the additional money that would charge, but if it's in a city or in a big area, then you have people that are just going to leave the venue and take away from that bonfire that we do have. And then the other risk is that you get some people that are acting out of hand, and that gets out and makes us look bad. So we were braced for this last meeting. We had to circulate some kind of memo about your professional conduct at the meeting. Even though we're out on the sticks and what happens at the bonfire is supposed to stay at the bonfire, well, may not happen at a downtown venue. I could see if things got real tight that we could have that here in St. Pete, but it would be the cost of all the hotels, and everybody would be scattered all over the city for all the nightlife that we have here. So that's what I got there. If someone wants to pursue that or give me updates on what they come up with, we do have some time, so we are set for 2021. Anything else, get in touch with me, or as Chris said, anybody else on the XCOM here. Final note, if there's any other discussion for that, then we're moving on to continuing ed and workshop. I think those are 2 different items. And who's got that? Allison, you got this?
I have the first part of it, and then Dan has the second part. So we formed a continuing education committee at last year's meeting, and over the past year, we kind of brainstormed some ideas as a committee for topics for the continuing education workshop. We sent out a poll to all of you lovely people to figure out which topic we wanted to do, and what was picked was an R workshop. And so we had that all set and ready to go. And Paul Schuler was going to do that for us in person at our chapter meeting. He is still going to do it. We're going to do it virtually sometime this summer. The date and time is yet to be determined, and most likely it will be virtual. Given where we're at, and it's June already, it will probably be virtual. It's on Introduction to Fisheries Analysis in R. There's a draft agenda of it in the January shell cracker if you're interested. But we will also send out much more information about attending that and all of that closer to time. We are also continuing to look into having workshops throughout the year. So in response to the survey that was done, some of the feedback was more workshops, not just meeting once a year. So we're going to look into, don't have anything solidified yet, but look into having different workshops throughout the year, not just one at the chapter meeting. So we will have an update on that for you guys soon, hopefully. And if you're interested in being part of this committee, feel free to reach out to me. And yes, so I think that's all I have for continuing education. And then Dan has some additional information about transitioning this to something more potentially.
Yeah, so I reached out to the national chapter of AFS, and we do have the option to get this continuing education and future continuing education courses that we provide at our annual meetings to be reviewed and approved by the National Continuing Ed Committee. And with that, it would allow those who take our workshops to then attain these continuing education credits, or I believe they call them professional development qualifying points, which are then used for and to retain the associate and professional certifications through the national chapter. So before I get too much into that, and before the XCOM continues to pursue that, before actually, sorry, there may be a cost associated with these credits. It wasn't much. It was like $7 or $10 a person, but that could potentially be, with the addition of credits, something that our members would likely have to incur that probably would not be, at least I know our agency would potentially not reimburse those. So I just, before the XCOM continues along this process, which we are fine doing, I just wanted to reach out to everyone before I see people are leaving. I just wanted to reach out to everyone real quick. I'm going to set up a poll here. If you could just answer yes or no, if you guys are even interested in getting the credits towards the national chapter. It should have just popped up. Yes, no, just so I can kind of see if people are interested. Okay, it looks like there's quite a few people that actually use those credits. All right. I'll give it about 10 more seconds for those. If you don't want to, just feel free to click the X in the top right corner of the poll. All right, thank you for all those who did that. So you can see it's about 50-50. So it sounds like we will we'll gladly continue to talk with nationals. Like I said, before we did that, I wanted to see if anyone actually used those credits. So we'll continue those conversations with nationals to get our future continuing ed courses approved. And sorry, I see Lauren has a question. Would there be an option to audit the workshop, like not pay, but still do a workshop and not get the national points? I don't know, Lauren, on your question in the chat. That's, it's with national still kind of working from home as many of us are. It's been a little difficult to get some of these communications through. I do have the form that we need to apply, so we'll likely go ahead with that and try to get Paul's program R workshop approved by them. So then those who want to take that this summer, because it does take potentially up to a month to get that approved by national. So we'll get that done and just keep everyone posted. And yes, Kevin, we also did talk about potentially using chapter funds to help reimburse that. That has not been finalized yet, but we'll keep you all posted on what the final results are. But thank you guys for taking the poll. So with that, Like, if there's anything else anyone wanted to say, I think I addressed the group chat questions. It's grapefruit, Wes. If there's any other questions related to the continuing ed credits or suggestions, feel free to speak now or email me or anyone on the XCOM. Okay. So
Thanks for that.
yeah, I just got that one last thing that National sent out, Bob, and then I'll send it back to you. So National AFS sent out a statement today, or it might have been yesterday, that I just wanted to read and I will share with everyone in light of the recent events. So the American Fisheries Society stands with its members against racial biases and injustices. To be silent is to be complicit. George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor have been added to a long list of Black victims of racism and inequalities in our nation. The American Fisheries Society recognizes the pain and anger that people feel in response to these recent events. We stand in solidarity with the Black community against racial biases and injustices, and we support our colleagues, students, and friends that are impacted by these actions. As AFS members, we are connected through our passion for fishes, fishing, and the environment. All spaces should be safe and welcoming to everyone, but unfortunately, we do not all share the same experiences in these settings. AFS rejects discrimination and harassment by any means and currently operates under the recently revised guidelines of the AFS Standards of Professional Conduct. AFS strives for the advancement of equity and inclusion in the fisheries profession and beyond. Every AFS chapter, section, and subunit has the responsibility and power to accomplish these goals. Like I said, that was sent out by the executive committee and executive director of the national chapter. And this is something that we have talked as an XCOM briefly, as this came up earlier this week, and will likely be putting together some more information for our Florida chapter members that want to take action or, educate themselves on some of what's going on in our nation today. So thank you for those that brought this to our attention, and thank you for listening to that. With that, back to you, Bob.
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing that up and keeping us current. And as other events come up or unfold in these times, we'll address them as they come up. I did see something else this morning from National. Was it that, and Wes, are you still out there? An announcement that Cecil got the office that was running for there? Is he still here? He's probably gone. Okay, I guess that's it. Any other business? Anybody else? I can't see the chat there, but if nothing else, then I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn 2020 virtual business meeting of Florida AFS.
Second.
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 Third.
And do we vote on that, or we're done?
All done.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Allison, and
Yeah,
all
thanks.
the tech geniuses.
See you guys.
Good job, Bob, Chris, Allison, everyone that presented.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Yeah,
guys,
likewise.
making it happen. It wasn't for lack of work. A lot went into this.
Yes.
And 2 meetings this year, Bob.
Well,
we're good for another year.
looking forward to it. And now we just worry about the newsletter and the website and all those other plates that are spinning out there.
Yeah. I'm running I'm running out of limbs to hold the spinning plates on, but we'll make it up.
These days, it's good to have something to do.
That's true. All right, we'll talk to you guys later.